Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. On a beautiful July the 2nd, 2019, Rondo Deportes, Big C will be calling in shortly. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, and we love bringing you Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide. And I just love so much about the sports universe. Congratulations to the United States of America again. The women's soccer team doing their things, putting England in their place. I guess they won't be having tea. They'll be having some red wine, Big C, for a celebration, or some champagne. You know how the United States teams get down. Really appreciate how well they've represented the United States of America. I hope a lot more people can get behind all the efforts of women in every sport. We talk about Title IX. We talk about gender inequality. Women having the opportunity to showcase their talents, not only on the sports field, but even running for a president of the United States of America. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I just want to say, as we talk all the time, we're coming up on the 4th of July, and we'll celebrate our independence. And I think the ladies soccer team did it first. They already celebrated their independence, Big C. But we can also do it too. But I know, even today, just out and about in Northern California, going to get some gas, a gentleman pulled up on me on a bicycle and asked me if I could spare some change. And so I reached into my pocket and gave him some change. But he had a military hat. Now, I don't know if he served in the country or not, but it's still something he should not have to do. I want to say there's a hotline number for anybody going through some issues. And sometimes people don't know who to talk to. But if you're out asking for food, I don't know if you serve the military. There are a lot of people who wear different hats of sports teams. It doesn't mean they play for that sports team. But if you serve the military and you're asking for food from people trying to buy gas in the land of the free, the home of the brave, I know POTUS said he would make America great again. But some of our veterans haven't gotten the message. National hotline, if you need help, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text. A lot of kids, school is out. And a lot of teenagers, they deal with bullying. And they don't really tell their parents all the time. No one would ever expect it happening to their own child. A lot of people say, well, not my child would tell me. Well, when you realize how many people go through issues, and they do have parents, but they don't tell the parents, that's because they don't feel they can, but they can text. And they can text 838-255. That's 838-255. So if you're going through any type of just trouble, I would hope that people can reach out and just get some help. It's so important that we want people to have access to help. And they know there's always help. They can simply call in. They can call in and get help if they ever needed that. And I know we'll have Big C calling in shortly. And I was just having that conversation where I gave out the national hotline number. And Big C, I was just saying how today I was just getting some gas. The gentleman pulls up on me on a bicycle. And he was asking, can I spare some change? So I reached in my pocket and I gave him what I had. And he had a military hat on now. He was an older gentleman. I don't know if he served the military. A lot of people walk around in sports hats. It doesn't mean they play for that team. But he fit the bill, Big C. And so I just gave out that national hotline number. And it's a shame. I know POTUS said he's going to make America great again, but some military veterans haven't gotten that message, Big C. Your thoughts? Okay, see, I think we have you on the line now. I just want to make sure that you could just respond to that message that I just gave about the gentleman with the military hat asking for change when I was just trying to get some gas. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's a shame that our administration is continuously overlooking our veterans of this great country who have served this country so admirably. We're coming up on the 4th of July, Charlton, the greatest birthday in America.
Yeah.
All right? And you know, the president just came back from Europe on the G20 summit.
Yeah.
And he was there in France also during the Bastille parade, Charlton, that they had. They celebrate their country's independence every year.
Yeah.
Now he wants to grandstand in America and do that at the taxpayers' expense. He's bringing in all this military arsenal into Washington, D.C. Tanks, jet planes, all of this stuff to put on a parade to challenge the other leaders around the world, Charlton.
Yeah.
On the American taxpayer's dollar, not out of his pocket, American taxpayers.
Yeah.
Think about how much of that money, Charlton, could go to benefit veterans that are in bad shape these days, that are homeless, that have mental disabilities, physical disabilities. They can't pay their bills, Charlton. All the money that the president wants to take and spend on himself for an illusion of grandeur.
Yeah.
To show that, hey, I'm this great individual. This is a Trump parade. This is no longer about American celebration.
Yeah.
The 4th of July is about hot dogs, hamburgers, and fireworks, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not having artillery hardware in the nation's capital, where that money could be well spent on veterans. Our veterans, we have 19 million of them here in America.
Wow.
We have 22 veterans commit suicide every day in America, Charlton.
That's horrible.
Think about how much the money that the president is going to spend on himself on his 4th of July celebration in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That could go to the mental welfare of these veterans.
A lot of veterans that could use help, and I understand that. So that's why we'll always talk about that hotline number. I know most of the times when people turn on the telly or the radio or the tablet now, they want to listen to a podcast, which is the fastest growing medium in the history of the United States of America. And in fact, all over the world, podcasts are growing. But we just want to make sure we put that message out there before we start talking about who did what and how great people are. I want to also say congratulations to the United States of America. I know we have our Independence Day coming up on the 4th of July, but on the 2nd of July, you have the United States women's soccer team, and they get the 2-1 win over England. Now, I know Rapone, she was side-eyeing by an injury, but Kristen Press and Alex Morgan, they both scored, and Alyssa Nahir saved a penalty in a win over England. So we get to celebrate our freedom from England twice, Big C. First time across the pond, and next time we'll do it in the United States, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Americans have really had great fanfare over in Europe, Charlton, in the past couple of weeks. When we think about the ladies' participation in the World Cup, we think about the Yankees and Red Sox series over in London. Yeah. And now that Wimbledon is underway, Charlton, you know, the Americans are celebrating. And I know some of the papers over there saying that the ladies' soccer team is cocky and arrogant.
Maybe they are.
You know, hey, grandeur to them, Charlton. I mean, when you're the best in the world, should you walk around and eat humble pie?
No.
I know they got mincemeat pie over in England, but should you walk around trying to eat humble pie? Think about this. They said the same thing about the 1992 men's Olympic basketball team. Yeah. About when they let the NBA players into the Olympics the first time. That they were cocky, that they were arrogant, they were brash. Yeah. But they went out and dominated the world, Charlton. They were physical, they exploited their talents, and they exercised their will on the other countries around the world. You know, they didn't have to play the U.S., they could have forfeited the game. Yeah. And so these women having the moxie to be over in another country, Charlton, and just because they want to celebrate, they want to, you know, flash the victory sign and, yell and rave, Charlton. Yeah. Think about what they said about Cameroon when they were robbed. You know, what they said about that African American country, Charlton, because they were robbed, saying, you know, that they lack character. Yeah, and so they're saying basically the same thing about the U.S. women because they're dominant. Yeah, they're looking to be only the second country, Charlton, to win back-to-back world titles on the soccer stage. Yeah, that's amazing, and I know. And sometimes you don't really recognize these things until it happens to you. But for a lot of little girls, when I'm kind of touchy-feely. I know California is we're more open to your emotions. Do they allow you guys to express your emotions down south, Big C? Or do they say you keep it close to the vest, your thoughts? We keep it in a glass, Charlton. We keep our emotions in a glass down the south. But, I mean, all athletes. I mean, think about how many athletes we've seen crying, Charlton. Yeah. Since Joel Embiid, when they lost to the 76ers, and how the media wanted to mock him, saying that was weak and classless. Yeah. They haven't said that about any athlete since then, Charlton. Athletes have emotion.
Yeah.
And, it's just like in this free agency run that all the media is jumping out there. Oh, no, this player's going here. They're going there.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard, Charlton. Kawhi Leonard has punked all the media.
Yeah.
Because for 3 days, they've been on the Kawhi Leonard watch and all of them. I wish he would just make up his mind.
Yeah.
Think about what they said. He'd make up his mind.
Yeah.
They didn't realize what they were saying. He's not that puppet that they want him to be, that he has to go here.
Yep.
He has to go there. These are grown men. The greatest thing about free agency, just like the female soccer team over in London, in Paris, is that they control their own destiny. Free agency that Curt Flood had started, the former St. Louis Cardinal baseball shortstop. Black man started free agency.
Yep.
Now black men are reaping the benefits of it. When you turn on the sports news cycles, all they're talking about, this black man going here, this black man going there.
Yeah.
They're controlling their thoughts. White media never thought that they would be controlled by a black man.
Yeah.
And that's what Kawhi Leonard is doing. Kawhi Leonard is making the choice for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
As you constantly talk about, owners can always dictate what happens to a player.
They sure
whether
do.
He stays with an organization, whether he's forced to move, neighborhoods, matter of fact, area codes, Charlton, zip codes, whether he's got to leave, whether he's going to be unemployed. It's amazing how the tide has turned, that the players are now running the establishment.
Yeah.
That they're saying, I can go wherever I want to go in the time frame that I want to go in. The greatest thing for me in this Kawhi Leonard thing, Charlton, I hope he stretches it all the way until the end of July.
Yep.
Because all of these teams are saying, well, we're going to see where the dominoes fall, and then we'll be able to put together the rest of our team.
Yeah.
We're going to see where, Kevin Durant goes, where Kawhi Leonard goes, where Kyrie Irving goes. Then we're able to put together our teams around them.
Yeah.
Kawhi has never had an interest in placating the media, satisfying them. He's always been about, satisfying Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Now all these other free agents said, I'm going to where the money is for me.
Yep.
I'm not worried about building a franchise. As you and I have talked about, only one of these 30 teams is going to win the NBA title.
That's right.
Only one. That's it. The rest of them are going to be in the same boat. You're going to have 10 of them jockeying to be in the lottery.
Yes.
You're going to have the other sitting on the outside looking in as far as draft picks, what's left after pick number 10.
Yes.
So, as Kawhi has said, I've gone to San Antonio. I was drafted there. Well, I was traded there. He was actually traded there after he was drafted.
Yeah.
He wasn't even drafted by San Antonio. He went there and won a championship.
Yep.
He was traded to Toronto. Went there and won a championship. So if there's a player with any moxie in the NBA, it's Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And even prior to the season, they didn't even have Kawhi Leonard ranked in the top 10 players in the league.
That's crazy.
Now they say he's one of the top 3, Charlton, because he's won a second title.
That's amazing. I wanna juxtapose two stories, because I watch so much politics. Sometimes I don't even watch sports when I go home. I turn on CNN, and I'll turn on MSNBC, and I'll turn on Fox News, and I just kind of go roundabout, and I keep looking at stories that people tell. You know how we were saying, you think about Curt Flood and what he meant and still means, especially now what he really means, Big C, to a free agency, especially for African American men. Would you have ever thought, and maybe this is a foolish question, but when you blend politics, most of it is Caucasian. We even have the Trump family questioning, is someone black enough, or someone too black, and Kamala Harris are not black enough, is what they said, which is amazing how white Americans are telling people who's black or white.
That's just pure racism from the administration.
Yeah.
That's, to say is somebody black enough, that's attacking a brown complected person.
Yeah, well,
that's all that is. That's a racism chant that's accepted by the media, and he's not called out on it.
Well,
he might as well say, we don't want the black people. That's what Donald Trump Jr. said. And the words that he say are words of his dad. It's just like when they had the Trump Tower meeting, and his dad scripted what he should say.
Yep, that's right.
You're going to tell me his dad didn't script this speech? I don't think the boy's that smart.
No, he's not that smart. But ironically, when I look at Curt Flood and how we tie in, how people don't want African American men, black men, to speak their mind, especially if you don't fall in line with mainstream. They want that ancillary figure, that sycophant guy to go, yeah, man, you're right, man, you're right, man, hey, yeah, you're right, man. And when I watch this juxtaposition of the United States soccer team competing for the championship. They're predominantly Caucasian. Let's just say they're 80% Caucasian. And the NBA is about 80% African American. Now, most of the stands are filled with white Americans, whether you're watching soccer or whether you're watching an NBA game. But thinking of Curt Flood, could you think he would have ever imagined a time when the United States women's soccer team would be less exciting by mainstream media to follow than black men? That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think Curt Flood or anybody of that era, Charlton, had the vision of where sports, especially black dominated sports, would arise to in America.
Yeah.
At the time when Curt Flood played in Major League Baseball, it was predominantly white. I mean, it was a greater percentage of black players at that era.
At that time, yeah.
I think about 37% of the major leagues was African American and Dominican players, Charlton, South American players. And that number has greatly diminished since that time.
Yeah.
But the freedom that he allowed everyone to have, regardless of the race, Charlton, the money that he created for all of the players that are playing now in all professional sports, and for players to have the power where they dominate the league in every aspect, where they have a say-so of how the money is doled out, how their pensions are structured, Charlton, how their retirement plan, how their medical issues are handled. Curt Flood was the guy who created all that.
Yeah.
He was the landmark of free agency, an African-American man who should be in the Hall of Fame on that alone, Charlton. He was an 11-time All-Star. But for what he created, he should be in every professional Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He should be in the NHL Hall of Fame. He should be in the NBA Hall of Fame, Charlton. He should be in, well, tennis is not a team sport, but he should be in the NFL Hall of Fame and the NBA. He should be there.
Yeah.
Everyone should pay honor to Curt Flood. When you talk about a guy getting the National Medal of Freedom, Charlton, from a president, Curt Flood should have gotten that a long time ago for what he's done for every professional league. I mean, teams go to the White House now after celebrating a championship. They started that with President Reagan, Charlton. But Curt Flood never got a chance to go to the White House. He should be invited to. He should have been invited to the White House time and time again. But he should, if any sports athlete ever got it, Charlton, he should get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Why? Because he made all professional athletes free. He gave them the opportunity to have freedom.
Yep, he sure did. And ironically, I don't mean to bust your bubble, Big C, but he was the original Big C. Curtis Charles Flood, an American baseball player, played center fielder, 15 seasons in the major leagues for Cincinnati Redlegs, St. Louis Cardinals, and the Washington Senators. He was an all-star for 3 seasons and Gold Glove winner for 7 consecutive seasons. 7 consecutive seasons, Gold Glove. We canonize guys who do it for 1 year, Big C. 7 consecutive seasons. He was an amazing player. And you think about it, 85 home runs through his career, batted .293, and he had a 6.36 RBI. Think about him. He played in a time, and he passed in 1997, but he played at a time with a lot of racial strife where they have to go on and play the games anyway, no matter what. He was about 5'9", 170 pounds. He was born in Houston, Texas. Everybody knows it's about what you do when you have the opportunity. And what I really admire about Flood, and I wish a lot of people would bring him up whenever they talk about contracts, and we'll talk about some contracts too, is they should just pay homage to the reason they have a contract. I was just lamenting how United States women's soccer team, you know how they're suing? Think about this, Big C. They're suing their own federation for pay inequality. Curt Flood, as a black man, made it possible for people to get new contracts, to have free agency. And now we're in 2019, and a group of mostly white girls are suing for what he already made roads for black Americans who face Jim Crow. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is where we talk about parity in society.
Yeah.
How there's gender inequity in everything.
Yeah.
And when you think about the U.S. women's soccer team, the greatest soccer team in the United States, and they can't be afforded the same financial benefits of the men's team that are lesser productive.
Yeah.
And because men have run the organization, Charlton, when we talk about pay scales in professional sports, we see that in the NBA and the WNBA.
Yeah.
There's no parallel. I mean, WNBA players make in a season what a lower NBA player makes in a game.
In a game, yeah.
So there's no parallel as far as monies. And so when we look on the world stage as soccer goes, And when you are a women's team for the U.S. and you're playing in a game where the ticket prices are going as high as $11,000,
yeah,
and the men's tickets, they're trying to give them away,
yep,
you do deserve a pay raise.
Yeah, he's amazing. I just, he did his thing without an attorney also. I know people keep talking about how much money somebody's getting, but the fact that he did this, he sued on his own, what they call pro per. He did it on his own, Big C, and he won. And it made everybody make a lot of money now, and I just hope that guys will at least Google who he is so they'll know that he's the reason that they got where they are today. I just think that's so important. Last thing I'll say about the World Cup over in England or over in across the pond, you think about everything in France, but it was England that when Cameroon was cheated by the official, it was England and the England coach and the players that said they were disgusted and that Cameroon was an embarrassment to soccer because they were not acting right, not acting proper, Big C. Now, this same English team, and I guess some of the media now is saying the same thing about the United States of American women. That the color's different, but they're still called the same, Big C. Classless, or that make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know if any of these people that are writing these stories or making these reports ever been on the losing end of a battle.
Right.
I mean, if you watch some American baseball, players go back in the dugout, they're knocking over the water coolers, they're swinging their bats and things, Charlton. They're acting up. We've seen NFL players knock over benches, knock over fans, and other things.
Yeah.
We've seen NBA players in disgust, throwing chairs, all these different things.
Yeah.
So these are the antics and actions of athletes.
Yeah.
When an athlete is disgusted and frustrated, Charlton, who knows what links that they will go to?
Yeah.
And for these prim and proper reporters who want to sit up and say, well, that's not how they should act.
Right.
I'd like to see one of them get fired and they walk in and tell the boss, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
really appreciate it working here. I don't know what I'm going to do for income for the next several weeks or months.
Yeah.
But thanks for firing me.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
That's the same way an athlete feels, Charlton, when they lose a competition.
Yeah.
They feel like they've just been fired off a job. So all you people who've never played sports, that's what a loss feels like. Like you've just been fired. And especially if you've been eliminated, you really have been fired because you have no more opportunity to achieve your goals, Charlton.
Well, in reference to Curt Flood, I want to, in fact, instead of saying that people should Google him, I want to start mentioning him more throughout our shows whenever we talk about baseball. In fact, when you think about, we just had this great, I won't call it an exhibition, but we had this great series across the pond where the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox took their show across the pond, and I thought it was a home run, Big C, to use a baseball metaphor. And so congratulations, but every one of those players that's making tens of millions of dollars, they can thank Curt Flood. They can do it because he's the reason they have it. Tonight's schedule for Major League Baseball, a lot of these games are already underway. Miami at Washington. We have Chicago at Pittsburgh, Boston at Toronto, Baltimore at Tampa Bay, and now the New York Yankees. I wonder if they're over jet lag. They keep hitting home runs like handshakes. They're playing, at least they get to play in home. They get to play the New York Mets. You think they're already underway, and Paxton's pitching against Zach Wheeler. I wonder if the Yankees will have any jet lag, but it could just be like flying from Florida to flying up to Seattle, or would you equate that the same, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you think about Major League players, Charlton, they're not flying commercial. They're not flying coach.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They're flying charter.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to relax on the plane. You get a chance to get up, stretch your legs, move around.
Yep.
Jet lag is not going to bother them. You think about it, they're flying back in the time when they're flying back home from London. So they won't be affected by that long plane flight. As you said, it's like flying from Tampa to Seattle.
Yeah.
That's a long road series, no different.
Very
true. These players will come back home. They're playing in comfortable confines in New York.
Yep.
Playing against the Mets. Crosstown heated rivalry, Charlton. They're playing for superiority in that city.
Yep.
So I see the Yankees continuing their route of the baseball home run record, Charlton, and making it number 32 tonight, consecutive games hitting a home run.
Be great to see that. Milwaukee at Cincinnati. Philadelphia is at Atlanta. The L.A. Angels at Texas. And I know they were all having a moment of silence for the player that lost his life. And, a young man, I've heard Vin Scully make a statement, the great former Dodger announcer, and somebody was saying that a player was day-to-day, and Vin Scully said, aren't we all? it really is a wake-up call to everybody. You got to live your life. Don't live it in fear. Cowards live in fear, but if you know who you are, there's nothing to fear. Every day is a gift. Nothing's promised. We all want a long, fruitful life. I believe I'm going to live to be at least 100. That's my goal, so I keep saying that, and I'm getting close to that, Big C. But just give me your feeling on an athlete. I don't know if you ever had it. I know we've all had people that have lost family members and loved ones, but I thought it was so classy that yesterday, when the Angels decided not to play, of course, Texas said, hey, whatever you guys want, we're going to honor you. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's professional courtesy. I mean, you got to understand, there's a brotherhood in professional sports. Everybody's in the same union. It's the ultimate respect from each other. I mean, you might be opponents, but you're still part of one big family, as I've talked about a lot.
Yep.
You know, when I played ball, all these guys were my brother, regardless of the walks of life that we came from, our different beliefs and everything. When we strapped on that same color uniform, we were one and the same.
Yeah.
We were all the same. We all had the same purpose. And so I honor and respect the move of the California Angels and the Texas Rangers.
Yes.
We think about athletes, you know, being these invincible individuals. We've seen too many athletes, Charlton, go early.
Yeah.
And you know, while they're playing and even shortly after their career is over, I constantly look, Charlton, in the alumni section to see who is still around and who's not around, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it's devastating. I mean, to sit here and see guys that you played with that were younger than you, some older than you, but they're always, you know, this is a vessel that we have as this human body.
Oh, yeah.
We're only born for a limited amount of time.
Yep.
And athletes, because we think of them being invincible, these great, hulking human beings that, you know, nothing can ever happen to them, Charlton, they still have that same body as every human being.
Yeah,
see athletes year in and year out go by the wayside, I mean, every time, even with the ESPYs every year, Charlton, they'll have a segment, you know, in memory of the athletes that are gone, that are fallen.
That's right.
It happens. And so it's part of life. We don't expect it. No one is promised time, Charlton.
Yeah.
That is the one precious thing that we all don't have any control of. It's called time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a career as an athlete. There's some careers that last a day.
Yep.
There's some careers that last a couple decades.
Yeah.
But it's the time that none of us are promised. And we have to cherish every moment that we have.
Every moment. Get busy living. It's like Detroit at Chicago, Houston at Colorado, Cleveland at Kansas City, Minnesota at Oakland, Arizona at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Arguably the best team in baseball right now with the Yankees. This might be the year we get a Dodgers and Yankees World Series, East Coast versus West Coast. I know the Dodgers may not be buying it because they couldn't care less who they play if they can get back and win it. They don't want to get knocked out 3 times in a row. They just had that experience with Boston. But look at how the Dodgers have lost the last 2 World Series, but they're still one of the top teams. And you know, Houston comes and goes, whether they're playing well or not. The Yankees, you know, they come and go. But the Dodgers they've stood strong, even though they come up on the short end of the stick, Big C. Would that mean anything to this country to have a Yankees versus Dodgers World Series, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, when it comes to the Fall Classic, I mean, the United States is happy about whoever's in there.
Yeah.
We want to always see the best teams in each league that participate in that Fall Classic called the World Series.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's always going to be epic. It's like having the 4th of July, Charlton. You know that hot dogs and hamburgers are going to be on the grill.
Always.
And there's going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
And when it comes to hunt for October, which baseball's World Series Fall Classic has gone into now, Charlton.
Yes.
We expect to just see a great fanfare.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a favorite, and it's always great to see teams who have worked their way to having the best record in each division get there.
Yeah.
It's not always the case, but if you look at the last 2 World Series winners, Charlton, in the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox, those are the best records in baseball.
Yeah.
And it would be great to see it again. I mean, we look at what the Dodgers did last year, you know, succumbing to the Red Sox, but they had the best record in the National League.
Yeah.
Now they have the best record in baseball all over. Will it be a three-peat, Charlton, the best record in baseball, winning the World Series?
Well, it's definitely exciting to watch, and I know we all going to keep watching it because it's on every day. It seems so we have to. San Francisco Giants at San Diego Padres, and then the St. Louis Cardinals at the Seattle Mariners. So it's a lot going on in the world of baseball, and the baseball universe is definitely excited. And I'm excited just to see how great it went going across the pond, and that we did not have a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game. They actually saw some fireworks, and I thought that's great for baseball. What we're going to do is come up on what we call the Big C pause, and after the Big C pause, we'll come back and talk about some more sports and some baseball and some Curt Flood basketball. I mean, everybody's making money because of Curt Flood. We'll take our Big C pause, and we'll come back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause on Big C Sports. On the Big C Sports Network, you can follow Big C Sports every Monday through Friday. In fact, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker. If you have Xfinity Comcast, you can follow the Big C Sports Show. But what I really like is if you have that app called Alexa. When you go home, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors, and then you'll hear welcome to the show, and then I'll introduce Big C, and he'll do his thing. And we appreciate all of our sponsors for their support. I want to get on, as we talk about, just some great athletes, Big C. Serena Williams, we know her sister lost the other day. Just to go over some of her career highs. And Serena, 23 major titles, single titles, most in an Open era. 337 major match wins, most in the Open era. 72 singles titles, 5th most in the Open era. 4-time Olympic gold medalist. 1 single, 3 doubles. 319 total weeks at number 1. That's 3rd most of all time. I know people are talking about the young lady that defeated her sister Venus, Coco, and congratulations. But just like anything else, in the sports world, oftentimes you play with people that you meet for the first time in an athletic event, maybe your school, etc. But even having some great ambassadors like a Serena Williams, and we have our U.S. soccer team across the pond, the Yankees and the Red Sox just went. In fact, the Red Sox were just there as world champions. Imagine how much greatness we're sending across the pond, Big C. Your thoughts on Serena Williams?
Well, you think about Serena. She won her opening match at Wimbledon today, Charlton, to advance into the second round. So, I mean, she's still carrying that torch. She went into Wimbledon, ranked the number 11th in the world. I mean, she's had some difficulties since becoming a mother for the first time.
Yeah.
But to be on the top of the competitive stage in world tennis, Charlton, she's just been a phenomenal woman, been a phenomenal athlete, and she's been a great ambassador for the United States.
Yeah, she really has been a great ambassador for the United States. And also, I want to think about Novak Djokovic. Since winning 2018 Wimbledon title, 14 events, it's 5 titles and 8 finals, major titles 14 and 15, 2018 U.S. Open and 2019 Australian Open. He's 56 and 9. He's 12 and 3 versus top 10. It sounds like I'm describing the UCLA team that won 88 in a row, Big Z. He has 22 match win streak from August to October of 2018. He's improved his ranking from 21st to 1st. And it still seems like women dominate the world of tennis. I remember growing up watching guys like John McEnroe, this Billie Jean King. They were on the opposite sides of the gender, but they both were so dominant. And you look at Djokovic, and then you look at the Williams. I'll still say the Williams sisters because they go hand in hand. He's been a dominant professional as well, Big C, across the pond. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he has. Djokovic has put on some of the greatest performances that we've seen at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And he's been a consistent in the top part of the world stage on the court. He, Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, Charlton, are always in the hunt when it comes to the tournament.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I don't know about you, and I probably feel embarrassed to even ask you this question. If you go south, Big C, it's a football country, basically, the southern states. Is tennis, is that something that people take up in the South the way they do it's mostly like a West Coast sport, Big C. Do they also play a lot of tennis in the South, your thoughts?
Well, the young lady Coco that you talked about beating Venus Williams, Charlton, yesterday over in London.
Yeah.
She's from Georgia, so the South has risen. I mean, you think about Jennifer Capriati, she was out of Florida.
Yeah.
And she was the last young lady from the U.S. at 16 to win a match over at Wimbledon. So there's always been participants. And most young tennis players, Charlton, even when they're not from the U.S., train in Florida because of the weather down there year-round. makes it very favorable for their conditioning.
Yeah, it does do a lot of that. And speaking of making something favorable, I want to talk about this young player, the New York Yankees. They signed a 16-year-old prospect, Jason Dominguez, to a minor league deal with $5.1 million for the Dominican Republic native. We just talked about Curt Flood and how, because of him and what he did to challenge the power that be, then everybody can make money now. You got a $5.1 million for a 16-year-old, and Coco was 15 that defeated Venus. Big C, your thoughts?
Yes, it was. But you think about this young man down in the Dominican Republic, Charlton, $5.1 million and 16 years old. He's a tremendous prospect.
Yeah.
And when you look at him, he has a grown man's body already at 16. He started out as a catcher. He's a switch hitter. They liken him, Charlton, talent-wise, they say, to Mike Trout.
Oh, yeah.
And so if he's anywhere near the talent level of a Mike Trout, we're talking about a guy who'll come from the Dominican Republic, the last great player out of there, Albert Pujols, Charlton.
Yeah.
This guy hit over 600 home runs, and this guy is a switch hitter.
Yeah.
They moved into the outfield, so if he has any type of mobility, Charlton, where he can run, and they can teach him how to run over the next couple of years, getting him ready for the major leagues. They can get a strength and conditioning coach, Charlton, to even hone his skills more.
Yeah.
But you think about $5.1 million to a 16-year-old. I know all the giddishness was talked about in the NBA draft of the young men, where they were going to go and how they were going to change the future of a team, Charlton, even though we haven't seen that. This is about the strong getting stronger when they talk about the Yankees.
Yeah.
This is the George Steinbrenner move. You go out and you find and pay for the best talent available. And when you invest $5 million into a 16-year-old, Charlton, whose future is unlimited if he stays healthy, we see the home run power that the Yankees have right now in dominating baseball.
Yes.
Think about what they'll be 5 years from now with Aaron Judge, who'll just be hitting his mid-20s, and this young man who'll just be turning 21.
Let me get your feeling on. I was just talking to someone about baseball and how they have the guaranteed contract. You have so many benefits when you play even one game as a Major League Baseball player. NFL still takes players for granted. Do you think this influx of African-American inner-city players, Kyler Murray kind of set the tone, could have played football or baseball, chose football for some reason, could have gone to baseball for a year, still come back and play football and have all that guaranteed money coming in for his life. Deion Sanders did that, a couple other players, Bo Jackson did that. Do you think what will it take to get more inner-city kids or just black American kids, even country kids, to look at the benefits of baseball for longevity and financial purposes? Big C, your thoughts?
Turn off the damn TV, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what they got to do. Unless they turn off the damn TV, they won't know anything about baseball. All you see in the news cycle, sports news cycle, Charlton, what have you seen for the past 2 weeks since the NBA title was over?
Yeah,
all you heard is free agency, NBA free agency.
Yeah.
Where is he going to go? He's going to sign a max contract. He's going to get $200 million.
Yeah.
He's going to get $190 million. This is all you heard. So if you're a young African-American inner-city kid, that's what you think.
Yeah.
Is that, I'm going to get that $200 million contract.
Yeah.
They didn't hear the news cycle, Charlton. There was 233 underclassmen declared for the draft.
Yeah.
They didn't go to school to understand math that only 60 players are going to be drafted. Oh, and by the way, 17 to 20% of those 60 players are going to be European. They're going to come from outside the U.S., Charlton.
Yeah.
Not only that, you have a few seniors that are eligible. So, there were 12 seniors that were drafted, Charlton.
Yeah.
So once we got down to the nuts and bolts of it, Charlton, there was basically around 37 players from the U.S. that were underclassmen that were drafted. So that meant that, a little under 200 players, Charlton, didn't have a team, didn't have a home, didn't have a contract.
Yes.
So that's the part of the story that they're not telling inner city kids, Charlton. They're telling them, wow, you can dribble, you can jump, you can run.
Yes.
You're going to be the next superstar. You don't need an education.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, if you don't get drafted, you got to spend your life somewhere trying to be found.
Isn't that?
I mean, let's take a perfect example. This is family, the Ball family out of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They had a son that went to UCLA for 2 years.
Yes.
Drafted by the Lakers. Found out he couldn't play. So they shipped him off to New Orleans. Dad's a hothead.
Yeah.
Very arrogant, very obnoxious.
Yeah.
Takes his two youngest sons out of school, Charlton. One was at UCLA, one was in high school.
Yeah.
Sends them over to Europe to play ball for some club league.
Yep.
Because the dad is trying to find a way to live vicariously through his kids.
Yeah.
He needs the kids to earn money so he doesn't have to get a job.
Yeah.
He bashed the Lakers for trading the one son who was non-productive. Now he has two boys, Charlton. They can't even play college basketball. They have to bounce around the world playing with some club league team, Charlton, hopefully to get an invite to an NBA summer league.
Yeah.
That's all. They can't be drafted. They can only be hoping to get to a summer league. And so this is what happens to minority kids, African-American inner-city kids, is that they get swayed by these huge dollar contracts watching SportsCenter instead of sitting down, reading, and doing some research. That's all it takes. Turn off the TV, turn on the computer, and read. Find out what's really happening. Don't just listen to the highlights. Find out what's happening. You get this young man out of Dominican Republic, Charlton, 16 years old. 16 years old. This is the age of all the guys that are out there playing AAU basketball.
And you can drive,
And he's 16 years old. And now Jason Dominguez, Charlton, is a millionaire. He's set for life at 16 years old. If he has some wise investments, Charlton, that $5.1 million at 16 years old, if he takes half of it and invests it, when he comes 30, Charlton, that $2.5 million will be $15 million. It will be. And he doesn't have to do anything whether he gets hurt or not. But we don't tell our children this. We tell our children, go join some club team, travel around from city to city, and test your talents. And when you go to one of these tournaments in these basketball, there's got to be a dozen to 20 teams at these tournaments, Charlton. A dozen to 20 teams. And every one of them have 12 to 15 players on them. Do the math on the number of teams in the NBA.
There's only 30 that are out there, Big C. All right, Big C, we got you back. Had a little static on the microphone. Go right ahead again about why looking at baseball.
And what happens, Charlton, with all of these travel teams and club teams and all these passing camps that they got all these kids running around. Oh, you're going to be in a passing camp. Think about this. You do a lot of high school football, Charlton. They always talk about the top 300 recruits in the country.
That's it.
The top 300. There's a lot more than that. But they always talk about the top 300. How many players does the NFL draft every year? 256? So if you're in the top 300, that means if they drafted 256, 44 you don't even qualify
top players,
for the NFL. 44 you top 300 don't qualify for the NFL. But they keep selling this bill of goods to these young athletes that you're the next greatest thing. We've all heard that have played the game. I was very fortunate and blessed to be one of those elite athletes to play professional football and get paid after being paid in college, okay? So I got double paid.
Well,
but to have these kids thinking, Charlton, that I'm going to be the guy that changed the spectrum of professional sports, there's always somebody going to come along. But there's more that fail than they are that succeed, Charlton.
Let's look at something that just happened with the NBA, because we know a lot of times, I mean, it's congratulations to anybody who can make it in life at anything that you want to do. Even at the NBA, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, and Ben Simmons, the 76ers, they're committing to their future, and they just signed Simmons to a huge contract. I don't know how much if it's guaranteed, but anytime you start talking $170 million.
It is guaranteed, Charlton. Those three players that you named, the Philadelphia 76ers just committed $459 million between those three players. $459. So I can understand why young players get all.
Okay, Big C, we got you back. We're having a little bit of issue with the microphone, but go ahead and keep making that point. I think it makes a lot of sense.
I can understand, Charlton, why all these young men are all giddish when they see these three players combined for almost $500 million between three contracts. $500 million.
I'll take it.
And so all these young kids, Charlton, growing up, wow, I'm going to be the next great. I'm going to be the next great. But they don't see how many players that don't get that, Charlton. When we look at all these free agency moves that have just occurred in the NBA. And they say it's like Christmas. No, it's not. All it is that they're moving money, Charlton. They just had the draft. So they got to find positions for those players that were just drafted. There's maybe 30 of them that are guaranteed salaries, Charlton. They're not free agency money, but they're guaranteed salaries.
That's amazing.
So now, with these free agency moves, Charlton, every time these players move teams, that means that somebody else is no longer with that team. Somebody's got to sell their house, they got to get rid of their condo, or whatever they got to do.
Yes.
They got to go try to find a new residency somewhere. Hopefully somebody will sign them, Charlton. These are all the things they're looking at. So I wish that the sports news cycle would also introduce the downside of what happens in free agency.
Yes.
That this player was not signed. This player was released. This player is out there without a home.
Yeah.
Think about how long it took Boogie Cousins to sign last year with Golden State, Charlton.
Yeah.
He was out there on the free agent market when the season was over with New Orleans. He went all through the offseason before signing with Golden State.
Yeah.
It was months that he was out there in the wasteland.
Yeah.
And he only got a one-year contract, basically at a minimum, Charlton, $5.5 million.
Yeah, $5.5 million.
This 16-year-old kid down in Dominican got as much money today as Boogie Cousins got last year from the Warriors.
That's amazing.
So as we look at the landscape, and Boogie Cousins had been a perennial all-star, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he could only get $5 million from the Warriors because he had an injury. What we saw with Kevin Durant this year was a rarity as far as somebody paying him $160 million being injured. And they're hoping that he can come back and be the star that he once was. But not only is he coming back from an injury, Charlton, he's coming back from a year out of basketball where he will be in 2 years. So he has a double hill to climb. He's going to an organization, and we don't know what the Nets will be in 2 years.
No, we don't.
Will they make the playoffs? There's no guarantee of them making the playoffs while he's not there.
No,
but what will Kevin Durant be when he comes back? And I know everybody's saying this is his chance to have his own team. No, he doesn't own the team, Charlton.
No.
He's playing for a team.
The guy writing the check for the team.
Yeah. None of these guys have their own team, as the media wants to keep saying. No, he's going to get his own team now that he's kids. Kawhi Leonard didn't have his own team in Toronto.
Right.
He won a championship.
Let me get your thoughts on something. When you realize that Jay-Z is big with I don't know if he owns them or co-owns or what
10% of the Nets. He and his wife own 10% of the Nets.
Okay, and then LeBron James has a friend that's also representing him with the Lakers. You notice, again, we talked about Curt Flood, how he made it possible for these huge contracts. Just get your feeling, the pool, again, I'm telling you, there's a renaissance happening in Big C, whether it's Big C Sports or whether it's anything. You got to believe before it shows up. Look at what Curt Flood had to go through. Now you look at the pull of the power of black men. It's called the power of black skin to get green money, to get the greenbacks. Look at what LeBron James has done to the whole organization of the Lakers. It's LeBron James, and he's a black man, and so is his agent, his representative. Now look at what Jay-Z is. And how is Brooklyn an appealing place to go play basketball when you could choose Philadelphia, Boston, even New York, even though the Knicks don't have any style anymore. But do you notice that it's off the court? What do they do after they hang up the laces? And Jay-Z, I think he has a big part in that influence. People want to learn. You know, he deals with Warren Buffett. He's a verifiable billionaire. People want to know, what do you do? He don't shoot basketball to make baskets, to make millions. I think that influence is starting to rub off more. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, we see that. We saw Kevin Durant with the boardroom, the show that he put together.
Yeah.
He was moving into entrepreneurship prior to even making this move to the Nets.
Yeah.
The Nets, as far as Madison Avenue, is what Kevin Durant is looking at.
Yeah.
He went and captured Silicon Valley, Charlton.
Yep.
What he did for the Warriors, they will always be grateful, and that was a dual relationship. As much as people want to say things were mishandled and all that, no one expected for Kevin Durant to go to Golden State and retire.
No.
They expected for him to go out there and win a couple championships.
Yeah.
That's what they expected. They hoped to get 3 out of it. They only signed him to a 3-year contract, Charlton, when they signed it.
Yeah.
Think about that. They didn't offer Kevin Durant a 5-year contract when he went to Golden State 3 years ago.
No.
It was a 3-year contract with a player option. So they didn't expect to have him for life. That's what all the media did not pass along to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin Durant's leaving the Warriors. It was already in the contract.
Already in the contract, yeah. Well,
so he had not planned on spending his life there.
Yeah.
There's very few players that spend their life with one organization. Look at all the superstars in the NBA right now, Charlton, the so-called superstars.
Yeah.
If you were to sit there and package the elitist players in the NBA, half of them have moved franchises, Charlton.
Yeah.
They moved franchise. Harden didn't start in Houston. KD did not start in Golden State. He started in Seattle prior to going to OKC.
Yeah.
King James started in Cleveland. He moved 3 times. So when we look up and down the ledger, Charlton, at these elite players, Kawhi Leonard, he's getting ready to be potentially on his 4th franchise. Yeah. Remember, he wasn't drafted by San Antonio.
Nope.
So as the league and the media wants to talk about, they owe it to this franchise. He would own the city. He would own the country.
Yeah.
No. He owns his bank account. That's all he cares
That's
about.
All he owns.
He owns his bank account.
Yeah, he might own his own bank now. But again, the guys writing the checks are wealthy. The guys get the money just rich. Think about also Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He didn't start with the Lakers. You had Karl Malone. He didn't start with the Lakers, but he ended up there. And there's just so many great players. Look at Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, everybody moves around.
Kobe Bryant was traded to the Lakers.
Yeah. Yep, and you think about it, they all have a chance, Big C. And again, it's the Curt Flood mentality, and we all want to celebrate Jackie Robinson because of the color barrier. Well, Jackie Robinson didn't break the color barrier. White men broke the color barrier by not being bigoted when they realized he could help make them money and able to get a lot of the Negro League money. Because Jackie Robinson, along with other players, they just wanted to play where they could make the most money and have the most success. So even the misnomer that he broke the color barrier, he didn't do that. White men who stopped being racist broke the color barrier by letting them in. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
They didn't stop being racist. They stopped being financially racist.
Financially prejudiced, yeah.
They realized that black money spent as well as the white money coming through the turnstile.
Yeah.
And they needed to get more of the black money to create their profit bottom line.
Yeah.
That's what that was. Is people want to say that Jackie Robinson crossed the color barrier, Charlton, and he integrated professional baseball. He was allowed to play in the major leagues, Charlton, because the talent in the Negro Leagues exceeded what there was in the major leagues.
Yeah.
So they did it for financial gain, not because they were racially conscious, Charlton.
Yeah, it's always about the money. So we all know it's fair in love and war, and I just appreciate that I see more men. And again, when people are, even about Kawhi Leonard, people keep saying, well, where will Kawhi go? He's making his wait too long. If Kawhi is as smart like LeBron James, if Kawhi is smart like Kevin Durant, and he probably is, then he's going to say, what do I have after? He couldn't spend all the money he has now if he lived 10 lifetimes. These guys want to know, how does the guy who signs my paycheck make his money? It's not by dribbling basketball, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's where the modern athlete has gone to, Charlton. As we see these exorbitant contracts keep rising and rising.
Yeah.
It's called the collective bargaining agreement, Charlton, that the unions have. Matter of fact, the NFL is getting ready to start their new collective bargaining agreement that will take place after the 2020 season.
Yeah.
And so you have to implement that and put it in place. The NBA players have done it. Everybody's trying to get the momentum of Major Baseball.
Yeah.
To understand that it's about business. It's not just about the game.
Yeah.
The fan only sees the game aspect of it. The athletes have understood that now this is a business. I have to look at the longevity of what I may or may not have, and I need to optimize my opportunity for income while I can.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening for media. There are guys in media, I think, making as much as $15 million a year in media. I mean, you can Google some of the names that are out there. It's almost like everything is getting more expensive and more lucrative. I want to jump to before we close out, Big C, in the final several minutes of the program today on the beautiful July the 2nd, I want to jump to the final 2018-2019 Division I Power 5 Conference Champion leaders. Now, some of this may make you turn your stomach because I know you don't like some of the West Coast flavor, Big C. But number one, the Stanford Cardinal, Big C. That's from the Pac-12 Conference. 18 of 19 possible sports with 6 national championships and 4 on the women's side and 2 on the men's side. Number 2, you look at the Michigan Wolverines. They finished second with 18 of 19 sports with 13 top 10 finishes of the year. Number 3, Florida, down in your neck of the woods, scoring 18 of 19 overall sports, including national championships in indoor men's track and field. Number 4, Texas, all fair in Texas, Big C, 17 of 19 total sports. The Longhorns recorded the national championship in men's tennis. That's not a macho sport for Texas. Do they hide that they won a championship in tennis, Big C, in Texas? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they might have made those tennis rackets out of Longhorns, Charlton.
Yeah, that's true. So congratulations for the men's tennis and had a trio of runner-up finishes in men as well as men's in golf and women's rowing. So it's congratulations. But I think the biggest statement of all, and the team that will most likely win the college football national championship in the next 5 years, at least we hope so on the West Coast, the mighty USC Trojans. They scored 16 of 19 total. Sports spearheaded by national championships in men's water polo. Yeah, we like the water, Big C. And then the 4 runner-up finishes on the women's side, indoor track and field. Beach volleyball, yeah, I told you we like the water, Big C. Outdoor track and field. And water polo. So what if all of our championships come in water? That means we're at least clean, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, at least you're not paying a shower bill out there, Charlton, so the water bill will be kind of low. When you think about those Pac-12 teams that are winning championships, Charlton, you spoke once again about the ladies.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't speak very highly of the men out there on the West Coast, Charlton. It's the women that are carrying the torch for championships.
And we don't mind Kamala Harris. She's also going to carry the torch for the Democratic Party. It would be great to see somehow Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders or Biden, those two or those trio competing and having 2 of those 3, becoming the Democratic nominee as president and vice president. The voters will decide. I want to say when it comes to sports, I love what we're doing. I've heard a great friend back in the day say, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Everything in life around you, no matter where you are in the universe, look around you. Everything in your life, at one time, it was just a thought. Either your thought or the thought of somebody else, Big C. No matter how much vibranium you have, it was a thought. I want to say you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker. You can follow Big C Sports on YouTube. If you have a television set and you have Xfinity Comcast, you can follow Big C Sports on television. If you have that app in your home called Alexa, when you go home, say, Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear our sponsors come up, and then you'll hear welcome to the show, and I'll introduce Big C, and he'll do his thing. At one time, it was just a thought. It's not about where you start, it's where you finish. Whether you're that young kid that signed that $5.1 million contract, at some point in time, he had to start doing it. He had to show up. He couldn't wait until he got the $5.1 million and then decided. When you look at Simmons, to get that $170+ million, he had to show up. He couldn't get the money and then decide he's going to hone his skills. No matter what it is, you just got to show up, and the universe will decide where you go. Big C, I want to just close out with some football because I don't want you being angry. Only 2 running backs in NFL history have ever finished with 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. Roger Craig, 1985, with the 49ers. And I'll give you a crack at the second guy, and he was in 1999. Your thoughts?
Well, I would think that would be the greatest show on turf, Marshall Faulk. I mean, he was just a phenomenal player, Charlton. But when we think about all the great backs in the NFL over the years, we think about their rushing titles and things of that nature, Charlton. Only 2 backs in the history of this illustrious league have ever accomplished that feat.
Yeah.
Both of those backs, Charlton, ironically happened to win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
In doing that, Roger Craig with the 49ers, Marshall Faulk with the Rams.
Yeah.
So, who will be the next guy to be able to reach that category? I mean, when we look at some outstanding seasons that there were last.
When we look at last year, Cookins. All right, Big C, we have you back. We've been having some microphone issues. Maybe POTUS and maybe Putin is trying to listen to the Big C Sports Show. Go right ahead, C.
Well, Christian McCaffrey there in Carolina, Charlton, had an outstanding year, accomplished 1.5 of that feat, Charlton, in that 1,000-yard category. But I also think, Alvin Kamara down in New Orleans, now that Mark Ingram has gone to Baltimore, Charlton, and he's going to be the featured back down there in New Orleans. Will he get that in that high-powered offense with Drew Brees? He'll have more touches to be able to accomplish that feat. So the NFL is going to be an exciting year once again.
Yeah, you think about the running backs that did that. You had Craig, had Montana, and you also have Falk, had that great quarterback that set records also that was boxing. It was boxing groceries, I believe, Big C, for the Rams.
Kurt Warner.
In the great Kurt Warner. And now you look at, if you get the chance to do it now, Cam Newton, I think it helps a lot for his prodigy to come up and do the same thing. I wanted to say, everybody in the sports universe, congratulations to the United States soccer team reaching the finals of the World Cup. Congratulations to every baseball player that's ever had an increase in your pay, Curt Flood, and NBA, NFL players too. It's all fair and love and war. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I got a spare room in my house, and I'm not too old to adopt. I was thinking about taking a trip down to the Dominican Republic and asking Jason Dominguez if he needed an American home and move him in.
Well, I think with $5.1 million, he can buy his own home, but speaking of buying homes, you can buy one too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.